Hello, students. I just finished grading your essays and all of your work for week 8. And I'm doing a quick video for you to talk about the next half of the class. We are halfway through the course. Congratulations for making it this far. Our course ends December 12th, 2021. And I wanted to give you an overview of what to expect for the next half of the course and encourage you to continue to push through. Let's talk about the group projects. So by now you've met with your groups, you've met a few times. Some of the group members have dropped out, and that is bound to happen in any college course, even at work when you're on a project. So for the remainder of the course, what you'll be doing is creating your layout. By now, you should have done some research. You might even have a video, and you've even practiced using Canva. So you can go ahead into Canva and begin to lay out your information, review and refine your information, and then you'll be ready to submit your final information graphic. The very last project of the semester will be a reflection where you'll write about your experience in your group. Please connect it to the reading. There is a chapter on groups, and you will see everyone's group project and sort of compare and contrast with your own group project. Are there projects that look maybe like the team members were more cohesive, or maybe there are some that don't look like the team members communicated? And so those are all things you can include in your reflection, and that will complete your group project. The rest of this lecture, I'm going to spend on the final project because I want to make sure you understand you've been working on all of these parts. And in the second part of the class, now we're going to put it together into one comprehensive report. So far, you've written a one-page essay on the industry, an occupation, a career pathway with a picture and a few paragraphs. And the next 3 weeks you'll spend on researching employers within your industry. So you'll create a chart and then write a few paragraphs that describe the employers in your industry. It's very similar to the career pathway picture. And remember, all these 4 parts are 3 weeks each. So you spent 3 weeks picking an industry, researching an industry, then writing about it. 3 weeks, you selected an occupation, researched the occupation, and then you wrote about it. And then 3 weeks where you created a picture and you wrote a few paragraphs and you got some feedback. And then with the employer one, you're going to spend a couple of weeks researching employers, creating a chart, and then writing about it and getting feedback. The next thing you're going to do is pull it all together into one comprehensive report. You're going to start with an introduction that prepares the reader for your report. Think of it as an executive summary. For example, you might say, in this report, I discuss the blank industry. I give an example of an occupation, a career ladder within the industry, and I talk about the top employers. For me, the example I've always used is the higher education industry, and the occupation is dean because that's something I aspire to. So if I was writing this intro, I might say, in this report, I discuss higher education. I provide an example of an occupation within higher education, which is the dean, an academic dean. And I present a career ladder that leads to the dean position. And lastly, I discuss top employers within higher education, something like that. So you can do your own. The next thing you want to do in your summary, your executive summary or your introduction, is create an overall thesis for the report. And your thesis needs to include, what is the point of this report? So for example, you might say this report will help students decide if higher education is a solid career choice for them. That would be mine, but you can come up with your own. And try not to copy these example sentences because it's better when you come up with your own sentences. I understand if you get stuck and you just can't think of anything else, but try really hard to do that, because as you move on in your academic career and in your work, the people who succeed can really come up with their own sentences and things like that. And I just want you to practice, but it's not the end of the world if you don't. So that is one of the weeks. Once you're done writing about your employers, then you're going to work on this in this executive summary, send it to me, I'll give you feedback. The next thing you're going to do is the body of your report. And the good news is you've already written it. So all you have to do is copy and paste. So let me give you an example. I'm going to show you. So for example, when you do your report, you want to start with the title page, the APA title page, and you have been doing that all along, but your report isn't going to have a title page for each section. It's just going to have one title page for the overall report. So you're going to center it, you're going to call it whatever your report is. If it was me, it's higher education. So I would say a comprehensive look at higher education and the pathway to become dean, something like that. It's a really long title, but it's the title of my report. And then you want to center it. And in APA style format, we center and we make it bold. And then you know all the other parts. You're going to put your name, professor's name, title of the class, and all the different parts of the APA. But that has to be on its own page. So then you go to the next page and you're going to include in here, this page is going to be your executive summary. So, so in this page, my example is Introduction to the Higher Education Industry Report. So that's just an example. You can do whatever you want. You have to make sure that you indent your paragraphs, right? And this introduction should be one paragraph. One paragraph should be no more than 8 lines. But if you do 4 sentences, those are kind of small. You want to do 8 lines. So this is 1, 2, well, let me just number it. So this is line 1. Oh, sorry about that. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is how much you want to write in your intro. And then right under that, you're going to put your very first essay, which is the higher education industry. Well, for me, it was the higher education industry. For you, it might be, I think someone's doing fishing industry or gaming, and then somebody's doing gasoline and somebody's doing nursing. So you'd put whatever the title of your industry is and then just copy and paste your essay. And that should be 1 page. But since you already have your intro at the top, it's going to bleed over into the next page a little bit. And then you're going to put your next essay in, which was your occupation. So for mine, it was a dean in higher education. It was actually academic dean. Or you could say academic dean, occupation. You can play with your title. Make sure that you indent, get your essay in there, and then the next, it should be a complete page or so. And then the next essay was your career ladder. So for this essay, you're going to start with your picture. So make sure you get your picture inside. I was going to paste a picture in there for you, but I don't have a picture handy. But anyways, you're going to put your picture, and then underneath the picture, you're going to put your essay. And then you're going to talk about your employers. And again, your employer one is going to have a chart. So there'll be a big chart in there that shows a visualization of the top employers and some stats about those employers. And then underneath, you're going to talk about that chart. The chart above describes top employers in higher education. You might say why they are the top employers. Cite your sources, which is, what do we use? We use ONET, online. There's no date. And you're going to talk, and that's your employer one. Okay, so by the time you get all your essays in there and your introduction, you probably have 4.5 to 5 pages. And the last thing you're going to do is a conclusion. And you can start by putting conclusion in there, and then you can delete it and just conclude, or you can leave it there. Or you can title it something snazzy like future outlook for higher education or something, and then you wrap it up, and then you put your concluding sentence at the very end. And then the very last thing, and it has to be on its own page by itself, you put at the very top, you put references. So really, here's the work for the second half of the class. You're going to make a chart, and then you're going to put a little blurb about your chart for employers. You're going to write your intro paragraph for your entire report. You're going to copy and paste all your essays in, and then you're going to put in all your references. That's the work of the second half. When you do this, you're going to have to go through it one final time and just make sure that all the feedback I gave you is updated, because you don't want to submit errors that you've already that I've already talked to you about. So let me go back to my presentation. So that's the body of your report. It's a lot of copying and pasting, but some of you are going to need to review those opening paragraphs and make sure they're not repetitive, and make sure that your essay flows. So you have about 4 weeks to put this final report together, but remember, all you're doing is cutting and pasting and really writing like 2 paragraphs. It should be fairly simple. Couple of points about your conclusion. When you create a conclusion, it repeats the introduction, but do not copy the introduction word for word. Put a different twist on the introduction to conclude your report. For example, you might say, this report shows that blank industry has many positive attributes, especially in blank occupation and within blank employers or something. This report will help students decide if blank industry is a solid career choice. The research in this report on top industries employing these occupations, current and projected employment, wages, and demographics can be used by community colleges to tailor existing programs and guide outreach to potential students. That's my last paragraph that brings it all home. Try not to copy these sentences. Use your own sentences. And at the end, you end up with a 5-page industry report. And you took the entire semester to write it. So that's really good, because it's a very strong, solid report. And if you're really happy with it, you might attach it in LinkedIn. But don't do that if it's not solid, because you don't want employers to look at that and not hire you. So be careful with that. But, and that was the whole intention, is that you will practice your writing, you'll practice communicating, which you did throughout this class, but that you're also kind of exploring a career of interest while you're practicing. And lastly, if you do go into that industry, you'll have something that you can talk about in interviews. You've done a little research on the industry. So that was the purpose of this whole project. And yeah, that pretty much concludes everything I wanted to say to you. I just want to make sure you know that it's everything you're doing is going to turn into your final project, which is this 5-page industry report. So I don't want to keep you any longer. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And if you're concerned about any of this, or you're confused, or you just want to have a chat, you want me to review things, remember that the last part of this, I think I have a due date for October 30th. Remember, that's a draft. So when you submit that, I can give you feedback. Let's say you submit that and let's say you don't get the points you want. You get less points than you want. Keep resubmitting it until you get everything the way you want it and the points the way you want it. So I give you several weeks to do that. The drop dead deadline is I put it in the module. It's December something. I need Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I need 4 days to grade these because I'm going to have 100 5-page reports to grade. So I'm going to need 5 days to grade them. And so your drop dead deadline, I think, is December 8th, Wednesday, December 8th, before the semester ends. So you have plenty of time to kind of pull this together, massage it, make your picture pretty, make your table pretty. And if you get this all done by October 30th, then you can enjoy your holidays without worrying about this class. So I just tried to give you the option. So again, reach out if you have any questions, and thank you for listening to this lecture. Have a great evening.